Good evening, everybody. Welcome to SVTV, the penultimate one in our January season of meeting the various commissions that work in Scottish volleyball. Running off the back of last week's commission meeting, we're coming at you tonight with our special events commission. These guys are, as I described in the previous chat, our magic miracle workers that do so much work to help us get events to the stage where they're able to host at such a high level. So without further messing around, let's just get the special events commission out here on screen with me. And I have to say, we've got them all tonight. And as if by magic, they have all appeared. Special Events Commission, good evening. How are you?
Good.
Excellent. Everybody's audio is working. We're all looking resplendent this evening. Welcome to your SVTV debut. We've been prepping for this one this week. We're ready to roll. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly go around the room. I'm not going to introduce you. You're going to introduce yourselves to the volleyball community. And we're going to start with Adam Payton. Adam Payton, introduce yourself and your role on the commission, please.
Hi, I'm Adam. My role at the commission is to chair the commission. I work alongside Veronica and the rest of Scottish Volleyball staff, as well as working with the board and other commissions as required. And within events, I normally take the role of tournament director or supervisor. Next on the commission, we have Grace.
Hi, I'm Grace. I'm the secretary, so I am second in command to Adam. I'm kind of like a point of contact between members of the commission and outside. I manage the meetings and a bit of the behind-the-scenes organisation.
And who's next, Grace?
And next we have Aitana.
Hi, I'm Aitana. I'm the venue manager for the SEC, and my job is basically to make sure that we've got a great venue set up for all events. I make sure that the setup goes smoothly, that everything gets taken down, and that the venue looks great for all the players and for everyone who attends the events. I'll pass on to Rowan.
Hi, I'm Rowan. I do the media for the Special Events Commission, so that involves social media, live streaming, working with our photographers, just anything involved with media. That's me. So yeah, pretty simple. Millie, you're up.
Hi, I'm Millie. I work with the volunteers, so basically just looking after all the volunteers and making sure that they all have like a job to do and kind of tasks that can get done during the events, and just as a point of contact for them. So I'll let Sean take over.
Yep, I'm Sean, and I'm the treasurer of the commission. So I'm basically just in charge of keeping track of any finance, all the financial side of things. So that's our normal budget for normal events throughout the year. But then if we're hosting any one-off events that we might have specific budgets for, I'll be working through, particularly with Adam as chair, working out how things are going to work on the financial side.
Fabulous. What an organised bunch you guys sound. You came across, you knew exactly what your roles were, and you've crossed off about 4 of my questions straight off the bat, which is absolutely fantastic. Such a joy to have you all on tonight. What we want to do in this chat is explore how all of those roles fit together to pull together to make the perfect event. Now, Adam, let's just come straight back at you as chair. Let's just talk about how you get these guys organised in terms of meetings and what normality looked like before COVID. So talk us through that sort of process for you as a commission.
Well, we're a bit of a strange commission, like the Beach Commission, in that we have 6 months where we have possibly 8 events, and then we'll go 6 months from the start of the indoor season through till about February or March where we have no events. In the first 6 months of the year, we're meeting every month, and then between about September and December, we'll drop that down to once every 6 to 8 weeks. any one time, we'll probably be looking at 3 events at once, in terms of having to plan the next events coming up, and then whatever the main 2 events coming up later in that season are. And each member of the commission will be then leading on their section, looking at their part of each of those events.
Fair enough. And Grace, you said that you're second in command and you look after these sort of meetings. I know that from previous commissions, when I spoke with John and the coaching commission, we have a strict 2-hour policy. If you get to 2 hours, we're done. How do you manage to keep this group of people? And I can tell the smiles and the enthusiasm that they love to talk their job. How do you keep that under control in these meetings?
Well, we don't really have a 2-hour policy because we enjoy each other's company, so we kind of end up chatting at the end, which takes us past that. But what I do is I get in contact with each member of the commission before the meetings, so that I put together a really quite a strict agenda with time limits for each subject. And so while, we may go over that time limit, we have a frame to work within, so that we kind of know beforehand what we are dealing with, what we're talking about, how long we're kind of allocating each subject, how much time we're allocating.
Right, excellent. And that keeps you guys on track.
Yeah, sometimes.
So who's the biggest?
Yeah.
Now, first moment it puts somebody under the bus, Grace. Who's the biggest one that you have to reel in? Reluctancy. Come on, who is it? Is it Adam?
Probably. He's a chatterbox in case you haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, I just wondered who it was. Certainly, in my experience of the coaches commission, when people get going, it's really difficult to rein them in. So that's really good that you put that structure in place. And how do the rest of you find that? So, Aitana, how do you find those meetings work when you've got that amount of that sort of schedule and structure around? Does that help you be more focused?
I mean, it's always great because we always get the topics from Grace beforehand, which means we always have time to think about what we're going to say. We always have time to think about what is the meeting actually about and what are we trying to achieve, which means that once we are actually together and we can discuss things, we already know the points that we're going to talk about, and it's much more focused and we don't really lose much time. And everyone is so passionate about everything and everyone knows what they want to say. And it just becomes such a good discussion about everything. So it's just really great to have it all organised, and Grace does such a great job at it. So yeah, it's just good to have it organised and to know what you're going to talk about.
Hey, fabulous. So Adam, we come back to you a little bit in terms of the overall year that you put in there. Crazy to think that you have that indoor period of time off and then it's go. So how do you manage and make sure that you've got all your tasks in order to get to that the opening day of an event? How do you manage that group?
We try as much as possible to get ahead of things, and I know, and Martin Veronica know how much we annoy team coaches by doing things like this. We set deadlines weeks ahead of events because for Cup Finals weekend, we have 16 teams taking part over 3 days. So that's 16 team lists we have to prepare. We have score sheets need to prepare, got analysis to prepare. So we ask for team sheets 2 weeks in advance. We use event management software. So we've got Martin Johnson's favourite of Trello, but we also use other ones. Sometimes even just using Outlook and Excel sheets. We have big lists. We have event packs that we go through each time, and it's just working through each one like we'd always do, and just try to hit off tasks earlier rather than later.
Brilliant. So, Sean, your role must be very important to keep the pennies in order, to make sure that we get to first ball served and not a penny over. How do you find that management with the checklist that Adam's talking about, the way that you methodically work your way through the tasks? How does that help you to be pinching the pennies?
I think it's very good because we're able to know kind of what we need for everything. in terms of because we've got experience from running past events, in terms of knowing exactly the things that we'll need to be buying, what Scottish Volleyball already has, and so we know what other things have cost, and we're able to work together with Adam, who's got more experience than me as well in running them, in terms of working things out and ironing it out. And since we know with plenty of time, we're able to work it all out. Luckily, we've not had to stress too much about it this year. That's one good thing to come with running no events. But yeah, no, when we've been planning some hypotheticals, we've been able to go through them really well.
That's interesting that you've said that, Sean. That's really good that a lot of people and a lot of other sports and other governing bodies have felt the effects of COVID and have shut down. You guys have still kept in communication, and like you've said, you've worked some hypothetical situations and done some hypothetical planning, which is excellent. So you've really kept yourself sharp in terms of being ready to hit the ground running with an event. Is that right?
Yeah, well, absolutely, because we've been kind of at a few points throughout this whole coronavirus COVID process. We've been planning for some potential outcomes of if we were, say, able to host events at this time, what we'd be able to do in that instance, and looking at the options and just what would be feasible around given the rules and given our finances and things as well.
All right. Spot on. So, Rowan, straight over to you. Media for these events. Adam's talking about how, and I've been one of those head coaches that he's pestered for team sheets and all my information. How far in advance do you start to build up your media strategy for an event such as, like Adam used the example of cup finals? How far in advance do you start to work up that, and then what sort of pace does it pick up as you get closer and closer to match days?
Yeah, so definitely we start a good month, if not more than that, before events. Getting team lists obviously is dependent on semi-finals. If it's for cup finals prep, then I can't do anything until we have those matches. So it does depend on like previous games. But like Adam said, a lot of it is just pressuring the right people to get the right information in the right time slot to make sure that we can get it out all in time. A lot of my work is like prep work for events. We like to have stuff to let people know that events are coming up. So I do need to make sure that I have like schedules for that, and then stuff for on the day, and then stuff for after. So it's definitely organisation is key, I would say, for that.
Yeah, and obviously you do such a great job. We've noticed that over the last couple of events, the multitude of channels that we're working across. How do you keep a track of where you're putting things and when you're putting it? How do you do that? Are you just like it says on the tin, a multitasking ninja?
Kind of, yeah. So I've got like a lot of experience of working with like my university team, and they have pretty much the same kind of social media. So I'm always conscious. I suppose anybody like our age is very conscious of social media. So as long as I've got the big three, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter sorted, I'm usually pretty happy. But we can branch out into others as we go. But making sure we've got the big avenues where we get the most engagement, which is obviously very key for the association at the moment. So yeah,
I'm glad you clarified on the big three. I was sweating that I was going to say something that was not in the big three, and Millie, when do you start looking at recruiting volunteers and then that process of managing them across? Adam said 16 games in the Indoor Cup Finals weekend. How does that process work for you?
Yeah, so as soon as we have an event to think about, it's kind of always keeping in mind who's going to be there. Like, it's a big kind of thing that we have a lot of volunteers who will come to everything and who really do pitch into all of it. But like, there are certain people that come to mind that do specific events, and you know that they want to come every single year. So it's really good thinking about that, but it is literally as soon as we know, we're starting to think about it and starting to ask people about events and that kind of thing. So it's quite a long process getting people to like take time off work, or if they're able to, things like that.
And I mean, outside of the faces that are on the screen right now, when you generate your list and you know that an event's coming up, is there somebody or a group of people or a certain person's name that you would see at the top of that list and go, no matter what I say here, they're definitely coming? Have you got that sort of bank of volunteers that you go, yeah, they'll be a definite? I'll send this as a courtesy.
Yeah, we definitely have people like that, and I can definitely think of a lot of people. And I think Scottish Volleyball is really lucky that we have like a lot of the volunteers are like that. Especially not even like the Scottish Volleyball volunteers, like the ones for clubs. You kind of know that even if they don't necessarily do it for Scottish Volleyball, like doing it at the smaller games throughout the year and stuff like that, I think they really do deserve to be mentioned because they are just always there every single time.
Brilliant. I'm really I love the way that you guys are working in each person. You probably could name the same person in that same category about who would be your go-to volunteer and why. Now, there's a good question. Why? So, for you guys, how come? Why are you involved in this commission? So, Adam, how did you get involved, and why are you so passionate about
it? I initially got involved because I sent Martin Johnson a sarcastic Instagram message about the Scottish Volleyball social media in the run-up to Cup Finals weekend in 2018. So in order to prove myself right, I did a social media plan and showed them how I'd run 12 weeks of social media running up to Cup Finals weekend. And from then on, kept helping out at events. I started recruiting volunteers within Cup Finals weekend in 2018, and then it just kind of spiraled from there up to running Cup Finals weekend in 2019 on the Saturday and doing Flying Scots that summer.
Yeah, those were two big events. So let's go, Grace. How did you end up getting involved?
It was actually Cup Finals weekend 2019. Lynn BT was running a leadership experience camp. And so I applied for that and I got in and I had a great weekend. And that was where I kind of like met everyone for the first time and yeah, just really kind of got on with the people. And Adam asked if I wanted to be a part of it once it was confirmed that the commission was going to be established. And I said yes.
Brilliant. I'm glad you had such a wonderful experience that prompted you to say yes. Certainly, it's a great interest. Now, Amelia, were you in that same leadership group? And Rowan, were you in that same leadership group? Aitana, were you in that leadership group?
Well, kind of. Not really. So I wasn't actually in the Leadership Academy, but volunteers were needed, and I was asked if I wanted to come along and just help out that day. So I just came along, and there was this Leadership Academy happening. So I wasn't actually part of it, but Cup Finals 2019 was the first one for me too.
So we kind of roped you in. Rowan and Millie, you were in that leadership group though with Grace. Which did you guys enjoy it that much that you stuck around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simple answer.
Don't jump in all at once. Yeah, so great. And Sean, how was your involvement? How did we eventually rope you in? Did you come through a different avenue or how did it happen for you?
Yes, I've been volunteering at events in one shape or another for quite a long time now. I think since probably 2015 would have been when I started, in 2015 or 16. I think my first event that I was quite heavily involved in was a beach. I think it was a CV satellite zonal event or something.
Oh yeah.
And I remember, and I was basically me raking the courts for that weekend and doing a wee bit of line judging as well while I was there. So a wee bit of the minor officiating. But ever since then, I've turned up to events here and there. And then when I kind of heard about the commission, I was keen to get more involved if I could. So yeah, that's how I ended up here.
Brilliant. I mean, it's remarkable that we've got you guys there and that you've had those positive experiences. One of the things that I did ask the last time we spoke was, in terms of your current education pathway, just by show of hands, how many are actually in the field of sport right now? Just Rowan.
Yeah.
Just Rowan. You're the only one that has a career pathway mapped out in sport. So we'll keep you off this excuse duty. Everybody else, I want to know, what is it that being on this commission is going to give you in terms of career pathway? So, and we'll start with Aitana. Why is the commission going? What do you think the commission is going to do to help you with maybe your career?
Well, I think it's quite good to have something that's completely different to my degree, just on the side. It's quite good to just do something completely different and work on really everything, communication skills, organising these huge events, and just being part of it, just seeing how everything works, seeing how people set everything up is quite remarkable. And in terms of a career pathway, who knows what will happen? But the main reason I'm here is just to learn loads of different things and just enjoy it. And I think in the end, it's just going to bring so many great communication skills, organizational skills, working in a team, just a bit of everything, really.
Brilliant. Millie, we know each other from outside the special events team. You are very, very new to volleyball, and when you started, we started working as a junior camp, and then junior club, and in national league clubs, and you're being just sucked in, and now you're volunteered on special events. What has been the big attraction in volleyball for you?
I mean, there's lots of them, but I think it kind of started mainly because it was like, once you're in it, it's like there wasn't really an option to leave. I think I was just kind of like dazed and brought through it. And like, once you start doing them, there's like this kind of addictive quality to it. Once you do one, you like want to do the next one. And I think it's just that. And like everybody doing it is really great, so that always helps. So it's just a really nice community, and just seeing the final product is really good.
Brilliant. Grace, I hadn't met you until you started that Leadership Academy, and what a fantastic volunteer you've turned out to be. You've managed to do university, special events, and work a job in a nice shop, really reasonably close to the Pleasance. And many occasions I've seen you running in the door in uniform from work straight into special events. So there must be something that we're doing that is keeping you on track. What's your experience been like that's made you so, committed to come from work straight into special events work?
I mean, as Millie said, there is this kind of addictive quality to seeing all the work that you put into it. Just like create something really fun that everyone ends up having a good time in. And just like, it's every event is different, and you have so many different responsibilities. You have to solve problems like on your feet. You have to make sure that everything's in order. You get to switch up like line judging or scoring, or just like even watching. There's so many different things to keep you engaged, and each event is different. So it's always interesting and special, and you kind of want to see how the next one turns out. And everyone who works the events is just like really incredible at pulling everything together. You know, everyone's pulling their weight. It's never left down to one person. So it's just really fun.
Love it. Rowan, before I come to you, I'm just going to go to Sean. Sean, you are, as I would consider, a very rare type of volleyball person. You're a lifer. It's in the family blood. The chances of you not being involved were, minuscule in the slightest, but you've been involved quite a long time. So you've had, since 2015, you've had experience both indoor and outdoor. We're going to bring up Heather Hamilton's question. Hi, Heather. Thanks for watching this evening. She's dropped a question on. We'll just go straight to Sean, since we're talking about you, 2015. She's asking, what's your favourite event that you've been involved in organising? So we'll go around everybody. Everybody else has got a bit of thinking time. Sean, go for it.
I think the one that stands out for me is probably doing Flying Scot, just because it's the kind of the multi-day event. It's away in St Andrews, so it's kind of like it's a you get to go away for a couple of days, whereas like the cup finals, because I'm based in Edinburgh, I'm still just sleeping at home, so it makes it feel like a bit more of an overall experience. So for me, I think it's the Flying Scot days that because they feel like you're in that event bubble for the full weekend, and that's all that's going on. Really
brilliant. Yeah, those are very immersive weekends. Those ones. Rowan, for you.
I mean, I enjoyed Flying Scots. I think as well the beach competition that we did last year in Perth. I really enjoyed that. That was something different, having a beach competition not at the beach, which was pretty cool. Like Sean said, it was kind of travelling away to Perth and staying there for a couple of days, so that was good as well. And we had like volunteer dinners every night, which was a very nice way to kind of de-stress after the busy day. And plus there was a day where it was sunny, and I think I got a bit sunburnt, but that's just a bonus, really.
Well, when you talk about beach in Scotland, you really, it's hit or miss whether you get suntan. I'm going to put a pin in that conversation, because I also was at that event, but I had a far different experience, and I'll tell you about that one later on. Aitana, what about you? Favourite event that you work at?
I think it has to be Cup Finals weekend. It was the first event that I volunteered at, and it was the first event that I played at. And it's, I think, just getting there and seeing so many people, and for so many players, it's their only chance to play on a Towerflex, to be on a live stream, to have spectators, and everything is just so huge and such a great experience that it just has to be my favorite. It's really overwhelming the first time you see it, and I just think that all the work that is put in really, really pays off. I think that's my favorite event.
Millie?
I'm gonna have to agree with the beach in Perth, just because my school was at that and I was meant to be playing with them, but instead I got taken up in the morning by Andy, woken up and dragged down to the beach, and it was just a bit of a whirlwind day. So I think I enjoyed that one the most, just because it was quite nice not having to go in the really stinky, awful minibus that we had.
I'm sure it was. Grace, what about you?
I think I'm going to have to agree with Aitana. Just Cup Finals weekend 2019. It was the first one I did. It was what gave me the taste of kind of running events, helping to organize them. And yeah, just kind of seeing how many people were there and how much goes on. It was just so exciting.
Brilliant. And last but not least, Adam.
I think Flying Scots and the beach out in Perth both have a special place in my heart. But the stress that Flying Scots particularly caused, I don't think I'll ever fully recover from some of the stresses of organising that. Personally, I really love Cup Finals weekend. It's the only chance really we get as a volleyball community to all come together in one place. So I think Cup Finals weekend, either 2018 or 2019, the setup on the Wednesday and Thursday, and even on the Friday, is long and it's dusty and tiring. But I think the whole 5 days we do set up, event and takedown are some of the best 5 days we have as a team in the year.
Yeah, there's Yvonne Kennedy. Hi, Yvonne. Really lovely sentiments from Yvonne. She thanks you for all you do for Scottish volleyball. You are, as we mentioned, the unsung heroes. Definitely that experience. I want to drill into a little bit about this because for so many teams that turn up at cup final weekend, they turn up specifically for their match. They walk into that venue, and wow, it's incredible. Certainly, I've experienced the setup. I've experienced it as with you getting down and dirty and putting it together, and then having the luxury of playing on the surface and enjoying the weekend from a player's point of view. It is super special. But what I think people need to know, guys, is the nitty-gritty about how that actually happens. So let's just take, for instance, cup finals. What does it take to get it there? Adam, you alluded to 5 days of prep or prep, and then it totals 5 days. What does that process look like for you guys?
So we'll normally meet the Friday before cup finals weekend. We'll meet with Veronica or whoever is competition and events officer. We'll normally have the rest of the SVA staff in. We'll run through a final check. We've got everything and run through what we're doing the next week. Then on the Tuesday in the Run to Cup finals weekend, we'll normally do paperwork. We'll start preparing boxes to go over from the office into the Pleasance. So they're all on the same site. It'll be 5 minutes walk between the two. So we don't like to leave stuff in the office. Then Wednesday, we're in about 6:30 in the morning. We roll out about 24 rolls of Taraflex. That takes us most of the morning. We then aim to lay the lines over lunch, which is Lynn Beattie's favourite role, is pinging bits of chalk string to lay down 20-metre bits of tape. We then spend the rest of Wednesday and into Thursday doing advertising boardings, advertising on the sites, setting up technical areas, setting up team benches. We normally run a test match on Thursday afternoon or Friday morning. We'll have to run through testing all the live stream, social media, all the sound things before we start with the school cup final on Friday afternoon. And that's a brief summary of what we do in this setup. I don't know whether someone else wants to talk about the actual event.
Well, let me just go to Aitana because she said she had a similar experience with me. She set it up to then play on it. How did that feel, knowing that you were involved in that entire process and then get to play a match on that environment?
It's honestly so incredible. I remember when, obviously, I wasn't in the role of venue manager yet when I first went to Cup Finals weekend to help out. And I remember that we spent the whole day, like what Adam said, rolling out the Taraflex, we were putting it together, and it's so easy to say, but in the moment it's so heavy, and you're putting it together, and the lines have to be perfect. And we spend so much time just scrubbing the Taraflex. And it's quite a lot of work. But then the moment you walk out, obviously all the lights are out and they come on and everyone cheers, and suddenly you're in the spotlight and you're ready to play. And it was the first time that I played on Taraflex as well. And it's just such a different experience, and it's absolutely worth it. And I do think that it feels much better if you've helped set up and if you've put in the work. You really feel like you deserve being there.
Wow, I mean, it's the product that you guys have developed and built right now is just beautiful. My first final was in years ago, and it was in Blantyre Sports Centre with just our one appointed referee, couple of home line judges, and 2 teams with a programme. It was that was my first final, and where it is from back in the day to where it is now, I mean, we're talking live stream matches, we've got interviews with captains, light years away from where it is. So you guys do obviously a multitude of jobs to make sure that we have a fantastic event. Rowan, actually managing the media while things are happening, How stressful is that? Bearing in mind that we're kind of using other people's equipment and internet and bits and pieces. How does that work for you?
Yeah, it's definitely complicated at the start. Definitely making sure we have internet is a big concern, because we do have a lot of people from all over the world really that do tune in for the big competitions to watch from wherever they are. So making sure we have somewhere stable to put the camera, that it's not going to get hit by a person or like a ball at any point is obviously a concern. Getting the volume, making sure we don't have copyright from music being played, which we all know you can't have an event without a wee bit of music in the background. So just making sure everything runs smoothly while keeping an eye on it from wherever I'm doing something else, which is usually the case. It's all kind of hands on deck at these events, and while I might be media, I'm not always doing media when it gets to the every kind of minute of every day. So yeah.
So we've got a couple of comments that have popped up on the Facebook stream. There's Veronica again, a great, vibrant, passionate people. Looking forward to getting hands-on event experience with the group. So Veronica, our competitions officer, she liaises with you guys, and she's excited to get you guys working. I mean, COVID taken away a lot of what we would have been doing this year. We were about to hit semi-finals weekend. I talked to the coaches commission, the referees commission about that weekend where we made the first decision about COVID and postponing. Staff were up to about 11 o'clock making phone calls. How was that evening for you guys, Adam? The week when...
It's quite tough. It's quite a tough day that Friday. I think Veronica and I had rescheduled the semi-finals twice already. I was out in the student union because I thought we were done, but I got a call from Margaret Ann telling us that we were calling Cup semi-finals, which in retrospect was the right decision. It was then tough, but I had to phone around the commission, make sure they all knew not to travel, contact all the teams. Veronica and I actually then quite quickly started looking at potentially hosting semi-finals in other places at other times. We spent a long time. We spent months looking whether we could rearrange the finals. But yeah, I think it was tough when we'd done a good few months preparation to have to cancel it with 24 hours to go. Not even that.
And then, of course, there's a knock-on effect because that wiped out Cup finals weekend, and you'd obviously would have had your eye on that.
Yeah, it was even tougher because we had a lot of planning for semi-finals. It's about building up to Cup finals. It's only 4 or 5 weeks between them. It's a great chance for us to start doing publicity stuff. It's the time when, if you see social media stuff where we've got team photos, where we've got information about teams, where we've spoken to coaches and captains. Semi-finals is a great time for us to get that information. Allows us to test things out. So we've tested social media things there, we've tested protocols. So yeah, it's quite tough to lose the last small event before we build up to Cup finals weekend.
The wonderful thing, though, that you guys have described is how tight you are as a group, as a community. So despite having that loss, you're still here, still passionate, still doing what you're doing. Millie, it must have been a bit of a shift trying to communicate with everybody who was about to turn out to assist with the delivery in terms of volunteers for those events. How did that happen? I know that I spoke to Brian McDougall, and he said the who's the ref captured the referees, but you must have had other folk that you had to contact that day.
To be honest, by the time that I saw it, it was already kind of other people knew because I was busy most of that day. I think I was still in school at that point, so I wasn't allowed my phone, obviously.
Oh, no.
So I don't really get to see a lot of the things until afterwards. So most people have already been told of the bad news, and everyone was kind of gutted already when we found out. So I didn't have to be the bearer of bad news.
Fantastic. That saves you a bit of a job. Sean, in terms of your role, you'd obviously had everything budgeted. You'd maybe allocated some spend, and it was already committed. What was that like for you in terms of process, or was it actually? Do you know what? We've got time to take a little bit more of a stock of what we're doing.
Yeah, really. It was obviously disappointing to lose an event, but it didn't have too much of an impact at the time. It was, at least for me in my role, it was just a bit of, okay, well, we've got time to think about stuff now, rather than needing to be really disappointed about anything as my role. But more personally, yeah, I was really disappointed because it's a good small event leading up to the cup finals. Because once we'd heard that, we really knew that chances of cup finals were very slim, and then so it had more of an impact probably personally than as a role in the commission, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty much devastated on the Friday night, bearing in mind that I was bringing up the Vets team to try and return to the finals for a third time in a row. So I had to be the bearer of bad news to a lot of guys who were really cross because we only get together a few times a year to play these matches and escape our wives. And we had the rest of them had to spend Saturdays at home or doing the shopping or whatever. So really, they were really upset with me when we cancelled. And there's some really nice comments coming in. Let's go with Lynn Beattie. I want to just pull up her comment. She's delighted to see Scottish Volleyball Leadership Academy recruits that stay involved in a sport and obviously now leading the way and shaping the future. Obviously, she was delighted to work with such a superb group. Let's just do a bit of shameless recruiting here then, guys. Grace, you've been through that programme. Lynn's obviously very passionate about instilling the leadership qualities that you have had and are now demonstrating. What would you say to somebody who was interested in getting involved through Leadership Academy and then special events?
I would just say definitely do it because you meet so many lovely people. You are involved in a national event, which isn't like something to take lightly. It's a really exciting opportunity, and so it provides you with skills to take forward. Like my degree is so unrelated to sport, but the Leadership Academy is providing me with skills and qualities that I can actually present to potential future employers and like use that to sell myself. And it's just helping build me up as a person, which is just really, really exciting.
Special. I love it. Any time you get a chance to get it and build some transferable skills, we're delighted at that. And obviously, you're a big advocate of what we're doing. Fantastic. And there's a comment that have come in from Nuvok Juniors, Sean. This is quite relatable to you. Obviously, it's a club that's got a lot of connection for you. Nuvok teams have played and all thoroughly enjoyed their cup finals weekend experiences. So, Sean, that's your club who have been involved in those weekends. They really appreciate the sort of work and environment that you do. So, what would you say to somebody who, clubs that maybe haven't experienced that? Would you say come on, get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. It's how I started. The first events I was involved in were ones I was playing in as a junior, and yeah, it's because of seeing how much I enjoyed the events and still do when I'm involved as a player. That's what makes me want to contribute and to help produce events that run smoothly and are a success for the players. Really. So yeah.
Yeah, so we talked about these events. We put a lot of focus on indoor, but we talk about the beach events. Some of these are international standard, international level. So there's a lot of stress on the presentation and the delivery of these. Adam, Vera wants to know about the protocol side of things that you have to follow. It's quite an intricate question. So do you want to talk a little bit more about the protocols during an event? What you have to do to manage those. Some volunteers can have an idea of what's going on, like CEV protocols. So for some of us, some people, when they get involved, they have no idea about that. And then they're immersed in an event, and that's all they hear from from yourself. So let's talk us through a little bit about more of the detail, and then see if we can filter how you would delegate some of those tasks to the rest of the commission during the weekend or the event.
Yeah, I suppose it's Veronica and I's job. Our main job at these events, to be honest, is to know the protocol we're running and to keep others on track. At Cup Finals Weekend, you'll see staff and who we call key volunteers will have radios on, quite often in their ear, so that Veronica and I can politely remind them that the protocol or what's going on with the protocol. Indoor, we're looking at a 45-minute protocol normally. It'll start slightly earlier when teams arrive, but from about 45 minutes out, we'll start moving teams from changing rooms downwards, and then about half an hour before the match starts, it's in the hall. Rowan and whoever else on social media will be running a slightly different version of the protocol. They'll be working with you and whoever's on music and sound to make sure we're getting people going, we're building up to starting on time. And then I'm working closely with Aitana to make sure nets being changed at the right time, we've got the court cleared, clearing the benches, players are huge fans, they're leaving jumpers, water bottles, shoes, anything at the team bench, trying to make sure that's cleared. And poor Millie has the job of trying to switch possibly a dozen volunteers whilst the rest of us try and get onto the next match as quick as we can. On the beach, it's slightly different as it's a bit shorter, but on the beach, much more working with the referees, trying to make sure they're happy with where we're going, pushing on to try and get through all our matches.
I mean, you've rattled through that, right? And I know, and maybe you guys as a commission know, that it's much more detailed than that. Like, it is to the minute that protocol needs to be followed. I've certainly had it in the ear, Andy, get the music going from you. Like, we're on point with protocol, we're behind protocol, we're constantly going. Is that because there's a bit of a, what's the pressure like for you guys when you're delivering those events? Let's just go with Grace first. How do you feel? Do you feel the pressure of those events in terms of protocol and timings?
Definitely, because you want to make sure everyone has an expectation for how it's going to run. And, you know, when people don't necessarily know how much work actually needs to happen for the protocols to run smoothly, to make sure the event actually runs smoothly, you've got a lot of people relying on you. So you've got to make sure that everything fits together really nicely, and that, you know, can be quite stressful, but it also makes you really want to work hard and make sure that it is done right.
Yeah. Millie, Adam mentioned that the quick turnaround of changing volunteers from one match to the other can be quite a challenge, particularly in and around the time frame that you've got. How do you feel when you're trying to do that when you're managing? Do you feel like, oh my God, I'm under so much pressure, or do you even have time to think about it?
There's a lot of running, so really out of breath. See, at these events, I genuinely think that we do more exercise than actually playing matches, because you're just running about these, the Pleasance is huge, so you're running about and you don't realize just how much space there is until there's a time frame that you need to be at places by, and you're meant to be across the hall a minute ago, and you still need to get the entire way across. So it's a lot of running about and just realizing that, oh, somebody hasn't had a break, or they need to sit down. But finding somebody to replace jobs, it's just thinking about a lot at the one time.
Yeah. Like I said, multitasking ninjas. Sean, you often flip between your role in the commission and you mentioned line judging and refereeing. Is it difficult to keep track of what role you're meant to be doing when you're at cup finals, because you often get leaned on for getting on with the referees group?
Well, and I normally manage to keep track of it. Adam's good at keeping me on my toes, though. He has just reminded me here of, I think it was 2018 Cup Finals weekend for the men's Cup Final, when I wasn't even supposed to be volunteering or helping at all. I'd paid entry to come and watch this match. And halfway through the warm-up, Adam runs up the stands to drag me down to line judge. Because I think one of the line judges had been hit by a ball during the warm-up and was unable to continue. So like Adam is always there giving me something to do.
I mean, that's a bit extreme, but yeah, that's a great example of how flexible you guys are and how responsive you are to the situation. Adam, for you say that when, as the chair, you take on that tournament director's role, do you feel the pressure when it comes event time?
Yeah, I think I do feel pressure. It's always nice, I find, to get the first match done, to have actually gone through it properly. I feel the pressure when it's not quite right. Sean's not the only person I've pulled into line judge. I've had Vince Krasic down for a Junior Cup final line. We've had Olympic captains line judging or ball shagging, because when we're minutes out from a match, that's when there's the real pressure, just to get bodies on deck, get hands moving, just actually pull off these high stress, high stakes matches.
Yeah, I've witnessed you in action. It's a crazy speed that you work out. Yeah. Let me. Here we go. There's a nice comment from Lynn Marshall. Volleyball photos. Go on, here you go. You're not alone, fella. It seems that in the early 90s, I think this is this Lynn, maybe Lynn Marshall that's posted this one. He turned up to the Cup Finals as a photographer. They charged me to get in. Oh no, Lynn, what are you saying? Oh dear.
Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Oh, the events have their moments. They do have their moments, and you guys obviously you're well equipped to deal with the unexpected. So let's just think about that. Is there a moment that you've had to deal with the unexpected? Obviously, Adam, you've indicated the line judge getting rocked in the face in the cup in the warm up final match. Is there another moment that maybe sticks out in your mind where you've went adapt, overcome, win?
I feel you put a pin in this story earlier, Andy, but the one that I've never been prepared for was in 2019, when we were hosting Small Countries Beach Finals up in Perth. Martin and I particularly had spent a lot of time that summer preparing Flying Scots in this beach event. We'd spent too many weekends at events together. We were on to the final event in Perth, and I had to tell Martin and Andy to spend an entire afternoon repeatedly unblocking toilets because they kept blocking up. And that was something I wasn't prepared for, was to lose 2 volunteers to clean toilet for 6 hours.
There's an incredible Snapchat picture that exists from Martin Johnston, and it's me working a bit of magic on some of the toilets that are in there. I remember Ian Cook was frantic because he was needing a referee for one of the international matches, and he ran up to me and he goes, "Andy, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "You don't really want to know." He's like, "No, I really need somebody. Like, I'm doing plumbing." And he's like, "What?" In the middle of an international event, the last thing you expect him to be doing was plumbing. So yeah, we could take a pin out of that story. That was a particular highlight for me, having to unblock toilets. So yeah, we've had some. That's a bit of a harem-scarum moment. Rowan, have you had any moments that you think, "Oh, that's unusual. I'll note that for future reference"?
Not any as spectacular as that one. I would say there's definitely been times where I've turned up at events thinking, "Oh, I'm going to be doing this," and instead I've been doing something completely different. Whether it's line judging or refereeing or anything. I mean, I think at Perth, the beach competition, that was the first time I'd ever done beach refereeing, and I really didn't think that was going to be the weekend I would learn. So that's definitely something different. But I'm sure everyone has a kind of experience of something similar. So.
You know what you say, you need to do something different every day. And I think that's one of the beautiful things that you guys got in your locker, your ability to take your skills and then apply them in different ways. Let's drill down to a little bit more then of we're now 10 months into this pandemic, and ever so slightly we've seen some light at the end of the tunnel. We've had some junior events going on. Have you guys had your eye on the future about getting really back into events?
Yes, I think the Beach Commission stole our thunder a couple of weeks ago. I'm pretty sure it was Rachel Morrison was asking about beach events. Certainly, we had a brief meeting last week talking about the upcoming 2021 season. We've spent the past 10 months looking at rearranged Cup Finals weekend. We've looked at hosting this year's Cup at centralised Scottish Volleyball controlled venues. We've done every option under the sun. At the moment, it looks like our best option will be back on the beach. We've got agreements with UK Beach Tour to host hopefully a 5-star Grand Slam up in Scotland for the first time. We're looking at small countries beach events. There's potential we might have a Commonwealth Games qualifier. We're looking to have a bigger beach tour than ever, looking for the biggest beach season. If clubs, if universities, colleges, anyone like that want support, we're beginning to prepare some stuff to help clubs with that, in order to help them get out on the beach, to host tournaments, host events, and then hopefully that'll all culminate with a bit of a national beach tour and a beach tour final, hopefully.
I mean, have you got any time to do anything else?
Hopefully I'll have time to play some of these events maybe, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, with all these events, Sean, that seems like it's a considerable amount of time that's going to be needed to focus in on making sure you come in on budget. How difficult is it to manage the budget that you've got and make sure that you're able to deliver these things?
I think the key thing is that one is to focus on when we have kind of these one-off events, whether it is like a small countries event on the beach or something like that, that we will usually be getting some additional budget to help us run an event like that, coming from Scottish Volleyball, certain aspects of it being covered by the competitions budget rather than special events budget and things like that. So it's all about working out what we are actually needing to pay for out of our budget, and then being able to work with Scottish Volleyball to put on the best event that we can with what we've got, really.
Yeah, it's a definite skill to be able to manage that. We're getting close to that hour mark, and I did say that I would do this. I monitor the time on the call. We're flowing quite nicely, guys. There's some comments that we still need to deal with on and off the screen, so we're at the hour mark. Is everybody okay just to push on and bring this to a natural conclusion?
Yeah, absolutely.
Give me a thumbs up. We'll do the old Zoom technique. Yes, everybody's good to go. Yes, brilliant. So, full steam ahead with that. I mean, that's a huge remit of work that you're talking about in an outdoor season. What's your communication going to be like in the lead up to all this, and how does it work? Columns, Adam.
I've already had I've had a meeting this year with Jerry, speak through some of the plans for the beach season. With beach events, we're working closely with the Beach Commission. work closely with Veronica to put in funding applications, to put in applications for actual events. Veronica and I will be normally through Veronica, or possibly through Margaret Ann. We are speaking to the CEV, we're speaking to the FIVB, getting approval for things. And yeah, we're relying on Beach Commission and beach clubs to really help us on the ground. And then we work closely with the office and the great Scottish Volleyball staff team on some of the legal aspects, some of the funding aspects, and the actual paperwork that we need to complete for some of these bigger national and European events.
Yeah, I mean those don't happen overnight. I think what we've done throughout this call is just it's highlighted how much work in terms of prep that you do. It's very ambitious. The plan. It's great to see this commission with such a vision. What do you think then for the future? Are you excited for these? I mean, I think we're talking about a 5-star event. Is there a limit to what you want to go? Is there a vision for what you guys think that you can achieve?
I don't think there's a. I think the only limit is the resources we can have access to. If I had 150 volunteers, I'm willing to take the Tokyo Olympics away from Japan if we need to. We can do the volleyball here. But at the moment, I think our limits are always and always have been volunteers and finances, really. Sean does a great job with a very small budget. And Millie does great work with our volunteers, and others at the Referees Commission do a great job. But yeah, if we had more volunteers and more money, certainly I think, I'm sure the national teams appreciate it. We're willing to do indoor European events if we have the money and the volunteers. And there's a want from the Scottish volleyball community to do bigger and better indoor and outdoor events.
Yeah, Millie, he wants 150 volunteers. Do you have that in your back pocket, or how are you going to go about trying to recruit? Obviously, you've got a great platform in this evening's broadcast, but what would you say to people about getting involved? I think there was a comment earlier. Yeah, here we go, Millie. We're going to put this question up from Nuvok Juniors. It's about how would I advise my junior players to get involved in helping? So you're trying to recruit the volunteers. Go for it. Tell them what to do.
Yeah, I'd love 150 volunteers. I think the main thing I would say is if anyone wants to get involved at volunteering at big events, if they contact Scottish Volleyball in any way, then it will get passed on to us eventually. So you can specifically contact the events, or even if you just give like a Facebook message, give us an email, call the office. Anyway, this is coming from the juniors. So basically what I would say is that it will be slightly different if people are under 16, but we still want you to get involved. It just will be kind of respecting your age and parental consent and stuff. So if anyone wants to email us, the email is events@scottishvolleyball.org. Yeah, it's up on screen. So you can give us an email there and just say that you want to volunteer, and then we can sort out what people are comfortable with. Like, there's no one size fits all. If you want to do one event, then that's fine. If you want to do all of them, that's great too. But we can work with individual people, and I will get in contact regarding what you actually want to do with us and what your goals are and any limitations or anything.
I mean, excellent. What a way to open it up and get a group of people that might be interested. Just get on that link. I mean, when we're looking at these events and you see the amount of people that come to them and how they all go, what's the best bit for you, Aitana? What is the best bit about the event for you? Is it the prep? Is it delivery? Is it actually sitting down at the end of it and going, wow, we did it? What's the best bit for you?
Oh, I'm muted. Sorry. Yeah, I think the best bit is definitely at the very end. The last match is being played. You realise everything went well. Everyone worked so hard, and it just went well. I think that's definitely the best moment. Obviously, it's not the end. There's still loads of takedown to do. There's loads of work to do after the event. But at least the stress is gone. Everything went well. So that's definitely the best part of the event.
Yeah. And what sort of time? I mean, like, you know, the last game's finished. That team's out the showers and on their way home. What sort of time do you guys get out of the gym, Sean?
Oh, well, it can definitely vary, but you can end up having some late nights, especially if it involves. Like, I remember driving back from the Perth beach event to drop equipment off at the Pleasance. So by the time we actually got back, I think it was getting close to midnight by the time I was actually back home, and I only lived 20 minutes away from the Pleasance. So afterwards, because we'd packed everything up in Perth, but then had to drive a whole lorry load of it down to the Pleasance to get it put away in the storages there. So depending on what stuff needs to be moved, especially, it can be another 5-hour shift.
Again, we're talking about the stuff that people don't see. Yes, we've had those sorts of nights. And in terms of the indoor stuff, you guys are pretty good at getting it all taken down at the end. You're getting it into a fine art. What's the sort of process in putting that down, putting the indoor hall down?
I think the thing that people don't see for particularly indoor events, we're taking things down from the moment that they're not used anymore. At Cup Finals weekend, you know, from still pretty early on the weekend, sometimes even Saturday, we're beginning to take things down. Anything that isn't needed any longer will be put away. We're lucky that because it's at the Pleasance, we can actually everything's got stored on site. For an event in St Andrews, so we've had John Sire in the past, we've had Fly Scots there. Once we hit the last couple of matches, we'll start taking down warm-up areas. As soon as we've done final trophy presentations, we can take down all the advertising boardings. Quite often you'll see after the last final, we'll just take the nets and posts, the antennae, all things like that, just out completely. The score table will go down as soon as the last match is finished, so that once everyone's left the hall, we are really on to taking floors up, taking up tape, and generally trying to give the hall a bit of a clean so that the Fantastic Centre staff, when they come in that night or the next morning, it's generally in a nice shape for them to find it after 5 days of hard Cup Finals weekend.
Yeah, certainly a unique experience once you've had it all set up and then you take it all down and you look at the space and you go, wow, what a job. It's quite good. There's a question that's came in, and I'll run around everybody. If you to choose one event that Scottish volleyball could run in the future, what would it be? Grace, if you could do one event in the future, what would it be?
Honestly, another Cup Finals weekend, because it's such a big event. You get so many teams in. It is a long event to like prep and run and take down, but that just makes it so much more exciting. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to another Cup Finals weekend as and when we can do that.
Rowan, what about you?
I think Cup Finals weekend. Yeah, this is this year would have been a good one from my perspective, in that we were hoping to have made it as a player, as a team this year from my university. So that would have been good. But yeah, definitely the full 3 days, even just being involved in the prep beforehand is something that I haven't had the chance to do yet. So that definitely would have been something to look forward. Yeah.
We talked about, Adam, you talked about at the top of the show, we talked about the various different levels of games that you guys organise and run. What are the challenges for those games? So you've got men and women's national cup finals, you get to play, you've got junior cups, you've got student games. What's it like having that variant level across the weekends?
I find Veronica and I, or whoever's having to run protocol, it's tough for us. We find the schools and the students, when they're playing matches, normally there's quite a relaxed protocol. They might not have followed some, they might have had some of our top level referees. They won't have done walk-ins, they won't have done team announcements. And that's quite different compared to the men's cup final, women's cup final, where coaches have done this before. They know they need rotation slips in 10 minutes early and things. They know that there's a bit of a longer gap after the warm up. It's also challenging, just adjusting to the different crowds we get in. The Sunday morning crowds who are watching the under 16 cup finals, they're in at 9:30, sometimes earlier, but they are really great crowds. We have quite a lot of parents maybe aren't so familiar with volleyball, so we know that they appreciate when somebody announcing helps to keep people right on what's going on, say for the school finals. Whereas for the National Cup finals, we're looking for noise, we're looking for the crowd to really get behind it, and also trying to just adjust to that sort of thing. People might recognise some of the national team players playing the cup final, but they won't know the school players. So trying to make sure the crowd's engaged and people on social media know what's going on at Pleasance.
Yeah. Here's a question, and I think, Rowan, you're going to be fielding this one. It's from Scottish Volleyball. Is there any aspirations to host sitting volleyball competitions within your event structure? Rowan, this one's coming at you, I'm afraid.
No, that's fine. Yeah, definitely. There was plans in place to have an event at the promotion match between and university are taking they're doing a lot of work behind the scenes to really promote that aspect of volleyball, and as a commission we're very keen to help them do whatever they want to do in that regards. So there's definitely plans just in the future that we will get to, hopefully sooner rather than later. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think that questions came about from a specific person in the staff, and we've been working pretty hard to get that product. Aitana, you've had a little bit of experience through your university with that inclusive structure, so sitting volleyball is on your radar, yes?
Yeah, it was really exciting. I wasn't directly involved in setting it up, but we had some great people in the club who started this whole sitting volleyball program, and obviously Rowan's club helped out a lot as well. They set up a great program as well, and it's just great to see the sport growing. It was quite disappointing when last year's cup final was cancelled, because we'd already started looking at how do we get sitting volleyball posts to fit. Are we going to get a sitting volleyball Turflex? How can we get around to having an actual sitting volleyball court? And it was quite disappointing to see that all of that wasn't going to happen. But I am very excited to see some sitting volleyball coming up in the future, and I don't think that we're very far off. I
mean, I'm delighted that you guys have actually started planning for it. starting to look at how we can incorporate it. I mean, we've got experience, or sorry, you, the royal we, you guys have got experience of running diverse activity. Adam, you are a bit of a fan of the glow in the dark experience that we ran a few years back. Do you remember that night?
I do. I remember why we've not done it again, because we set up almost twice as much Cup Finals weekend. It takes a long time to take down a court anyway, so to take down UV tape on top, it's just more time. But no, I think glow in the dark volleyball's a nice thing to do. We do it at Glasgow Uni as well, and it's a great way to show a slightly different type of volleyball. We're always up for things like that, to try different sorts of events, different ways to engage with people, and yeah, different looks to our events as well, I suppose.
Yeah, it certainly it challenges you, keeps it fresh, and it just brings a different dynamic to the environment that we're able to offer. In terms of looking after each other, again, Grace, you mentioned earlier on that it's such a nice community, and that's probably why you're still involved with us. Would you look at the volunteers and everybody and say that you managed to look after everybody well enough over the weekend? We were talking about earlier about how you managed to schedule breaks and whatnot. What do you think about that?
In terms of like over the events, you know, you kind of definitely expect everyone to be flexible. As we've said, like you kind of come in and you have to, you know, Sean got pulled out of the stands when he'd paid to get in. You really have to be flexible. But we do make sure that we look after everyone. Like if someone has been line judging for like 3 games in a row, we'll say, no, you go take a break. I'm going to change my responsibility because this is a priority now. So we definitely do all look after each other, which is, again, what makes running the event so fun, because you know that you've got a support network to fall back on.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen you running from work and then go straight back onto it. It's important that you understand that you've got to manage that. We tend to make sure that you guys get a decent feed, at least that there's food and stuff available for you. You've got that break room that we try and get you into away from the environment at Cup Finals weekend, and similarly we try to provide that for you on the beach, even if it is a marquee that's hanging together in a gale force wind. So we're definitely trying to look after you guys. It's I'm conscious it's about 1 hour and 20 minutes into the call. We've had a fabulous night, a real good insight into the work that you do. Adam, I just want to come back to you. Final words about your commission and how to get involved, please.
I think I'm really lucky. I think I've got the best commission in Scottish volleyball. We've still got one more space on the commission that was held purposely when we were started back last year. So we're looking for if anyone's got experience in marketing and sponsorship. We've got space for that, but we're also looking, and we've been waiting for months in a pandemic to start some subgroups. So if there's people who are interested in social media, in communications, then Rowan's going to be doing work on that. For those who are more like me and want to look at all the 100-page CV documents on venues, Itana's going to have a group run on that. Millie and Anna, who's based in the office, have got some great work on a volunteer database. So if anyone's got any skill or just an interest, want to help out at Cup Finals weekend, on the beach, at some events, all events, you get in touch with us. Either you can do it now, you do it tomorrow, do it when we're in the run to some of our beach events this summer. We'll take your information. We've got range of things from officiating, social media, events. And I believe Andy may even be looking for someone to step in to announce some events occasionally. So if anyone wants to be the voice of Scottish volleyball, you can learn from the master of the trade here.
Shameless plug, mate. Shameless plug. Thank you very much. Before we start to really wrap it up, Sean, you thought you might have got off the hook, but I really want to come back to a comment that you made to the Student Commission in terms of your dad. You said that you did barely pass your university, which isn't ideal. How have you managed your time to make sure that you did pass university and still fulfill your commitments? Because you did throw yourself under the bus a little bit.
Well, no, yeah. So I was able to manage my time enough that I was able to, just about scrape through. But I think it's about what's important to me, and I think it shows that volunteering at these events and stuff really is important to me. So for someone that maybe would have valued getting a really good degree, they maybe would have made different decisions to me. But for me, it was worth spending weekends away, gaining skills and stuff that you do get from doing events like this, rather than maybe focusing on the pure academic side of things, where I maybe just didn't find myself quite as passionate as I do when it comes to putting on big events, I think.
Perfect. Well, I did say at the top of the show that I was going to quiz you over that. You've answered it spectacularly. Bill, I hope you're listening. You see the passion that runs from Sean. Here's an interesting name that's popped up on the screen. Tess Forbes Harley. Oh, hi Tess. Lovely listening to you all. Thank you. I'm Gracie's mum in Germany. Hi, Gracie's mum. Fantastic that you're joining us tonight and listening to the amazing work that Grace is doing as part of this commission. Thanks for letting her get involved in everything she does. Craig Girvin's popped up and he says it's a good job by everyone. Shame about the finals last year, but looking forward to the next big events. Craig's another guy that's involved heavily in refereeing, and is one of those serial names that you see on the referees structures for our events. Closing sentiment on Facebook has come from none other than Margaret Ann, our CEO. So her comment, Special Events Commission, a really fantastic evening of information and detail. Scottish Volleyball thanks you all. Without you, we could never be as big and strong as you are. You make Scottish Volleyball a better sport for all. Personal thanks from Margaret Ann. I don't think there's any better way to wrap up this evening than those words of thanks from the boss. So from everybody at Scottish Volleyball, we thank you very much for the hard work that you do and for the hard work that is still yet to come, because as you've outlined across the night, that you guys aren't resting. You guys are really looking forward and being proactive. Bill Stobie, that's my boy. He's watching. Yes, listen, now what's going to happen by the magic of TV, you guys are going to drop backstage with Blair. I'll wrap up the show and then we'll come in and have a final chat. From me, Andy Fleming, I'm thanking you guys from the Special Events Commission. So good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks.
Brilliant. Wow. Hour and 24 minutes. Fantastic evening spent with the Special Events Commission. I hope that you got a flavour and feel for how tight that group is in terms of the spirit and enthusiasm they have for volleyball events. They really bring their passion into every event that we do, regardless of the environment, indoor, outdoor, and they work in some really tricky areas, particularly on the beach. We're Scotland, we don't get graced with magnificent weather, so they really do bring all their skills to bear in delivering world class events for us. So as they've said, if you're interested in getting involved, if you're thinking about starting to do some volunteering with Scottish Volleyball, that's a commission that you want to get involved with, and then contact them, events@scottishvolleyball.org. Send them an email, explore the opportunities, come along. Like I say, they'll manage you as a volunteer, they'll place you in an area that you've got interests in, and they'll look after you. And as they say, once you've been in and you enjoy it, then the desire is to come back and really go. For everybody that's watched tonight, you know, if you're watching live, that's great. If you're watching back, remember, drop us a wee comment, let us know how you've watched it, and if you've enjoyed the shows, then drop us a wee comment on the social media aspect for it. All that's left for me to do is say that our final evening this week is going to be on Thursday night, 7 o'clock on SVTV, and it's well, way to close the month's engagement with none other than the Scottish Volleyball Board. So if you've got questions, if you want to ask and find out what the board does, then get involved. This is your opportunity to ask questions and see what happens at the very, very top of the structure for Scottish volleyball. I'm excited with that so far. I think we've got a really great bunch of board members joining us for that show. So I'm excited for it. It's the final one of the series, and that's Thursday night's engagement for us on SVTV. From me, Andy Fleming, I'm going to say thank you for joining us. Don't forget to comment and like the video and share it, and we will catch you all on Thursday. Good night, folks.